Welcome back to JoyNews Prime. Now, the next cohort of senior high school students to sit for the WASI will be writing the exam a month later in May-June instead of April-May. Minister of Education Matthew Poku-Prempeh says this should give the candidates a few more weeks to prepare. The minister, who was speaking at the Meet the Press series at the Ministry of Information on Thursday, devoted considerable time to explain why he disagrees with suggestions government's flagship Free SHS initiative is severely challenged. He insisted those criticizing the initiative are refusing to look on the brighter side of things. Nancy Emefajiradosi was there and asked more.
The WASI exam was originally conducted in May-June each year, with candidates taking practical exams starting off sometime in April. The shift from the 4-year SHS to 3 years, however, saw the exams being brought forward by a month to April-May, but which the Education Minister now says will revert to May-June.
The learning outcomes for those who went to 4 years were better than those who went to 3 years. That is not the question. But what do we really mean by 4 years or 3 years? The SSS syllabus is for 9 terms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3 terms in a year, 3 terms times 3, 9. So we envisage that by the time the child has finished the 9 terms, he or she will be ready to take the West Africa Senior Certificate.
On the plethora of challenges bedeviling the Free SHS initiative, the minister described as untrue claims that government has imposed suppliers on the schools.
Every head of a school that has a supplier of these items, non-perishables, that was agreed at the implementation, should allow that supplier to go to buffer stock and register. That is all we said. Over 250 schools took advantage of that and registered their supplies, and those suppliers are supplying the schools and other schools. Other Ghanaians who are in that supply business also registered and are supplying some schools. It is never true. It is never true that anybody has been imposed on anybody.
He also vehemently rejected suggestions the congestion being reported in schools across the country is as a result of implementing the free senior high school policy and urged those complaining to appreciate the positives of the policy.
We asked all heads to write to us and tell us the number of students they can admit without congestion. And we have the record of every head of a school we placed a student. The letter is at the Free SHS Secretariat that we can show. The heads telling us the number of students they want. So if a head tells Free SHS Secretariat, we can only admit 533, and Free SHS Secretariat places 520, and as we speak, 517 have enrolled. How then do we say that Free SHS has caused congestion in the school? There are few schools still in Ghana here who are secondary schools that had no toilets. That is not the result of Free SHS. So when you see some people portray that somebody says, when I go, I do it in a rubber bag and I walk 45 minutes. At least you have the rubber bag.
He also clarified government's planned disbursement of funds budgeted for the schools.
The total fee for SHS today is 648 cedis, 47 pesos. Boarding 1,000 cedis, 1,004, 27. The amount to be paid centrally, when you add all fee, uniforms and things like that, for a day student, we are paying 50 cedis, 560 cedis, 80 pesos. For a boarder, we are paying 798 cedis, 40 pesos. When you compute that percentage-wise, we are retaining and paying on behalf of the schools for a boarder 79.5%. So if we took 20% upfront, most schools may not have to expect any more money. For those schools that got less number enrolled than the projection that they took the 20%, they may have to refund money.
Parliament has meanwhile approved a $40 million loan facility to improve educational infrastructure at various senior high schools in the country. The Ghana Secondary School Education Improvement Project will upgrade infrastructure and improve on the quality of the schools. The first tranche has seen Ghana receive a $156 million loan facility from the World Bank, disbursed under the previous administration. The facility at the time was sharply criticized for the component that will supply sanitary pads to girls, and the MPP refused to support its approval. Chairman of the Finance Committee of Parliament, Dr. Mark Esibiebwa, have assured the loan will be put to judicious use. Minority meanwhile accused the MPP of being hypocritical for going for the additional money from the World Bank. And the Virtual Workers Union wants Farmers' Day, which is a national public holiday, scrapped, arguing that even though the holiday is to honor farmers across the country, it is of no significance to them. A statement signed by the General Secretary of GAWU, Edward Karewe, further notes that the country loses millions of cedis in productivity just by observing the holiday. The money to be generated on the day, the union says, should rather be invested in agriculture to ease challenges smallholder farmers are currently facing. Edward Karewe joins me on phone to discuss the issue further. Hello, Mr. Karewe, and happy Farmers' Day to you in advance.
Yeah, same to you.
All right.
And same to all your people there too.
All right. Now, how convinced are you about the reasons you cite for wanting the holiday scrapped?
Come again?
I'm asking, how convinced are you about the reasons you cite for wanting the Farmers' Day holiday scrapped?
Well, we are very much convinced with the reasons because are verifiable, they are real, they are tangible. It doesn't need a rocket science for anyone to be able to understand the reasons that we are advancing for the scrapping of this holiday, which is not beneficial to the farmers. And secondly, it's not also beneficial to the country. Because the holiday is a cost to the nation. And when we generate that cost, we should be able to show for that cost. And if you take this particular holiday, which is a cost, and which costs millions of Ghana cedis, we don't see where the benefit is, because there's no benefit to it. And that is why we think that we need to look into it going forward, that we should restructure it, make it a non-holiday.
Now, Mr. Karewe, is this something you've consulted the farmers about, and do they agree with you?
The question again you have to even ask is, which farmer benefits from the holiday?
Now, but the fact that they actually have a day set aside for them to celebrate the nation's farmers should be something that should excite them, I would want to think.
Yeah, we need to make our point clear here. We are not in dispute or in doubt about setting a day aside to celebrate farmers. We are not against that. We are against the fact that you are creating that day a public holiday. But we recognize, and we would always advocate for, that farmers must be celebrated. And the celebration should not only stop at having a one-day event to celebrate them. It should even extend beyond that. But what we are saying is that, yes, create a day for the farmers, use that day to honor them, give them the awards, create public awareness of the day and the contribution that farmers make, but don't make it a public holiday. Because if you make it the farmer does not benefit from it. And yet the nation loses millions of Ghana cedis. No farmer will not go to his farm or her farm on that day because you have legislated, because you have institutionalized it to be a holiday. because this is the time that bushfires are very high this time, and this is the farmers are harvesting. No farmer will, after many months of work investment, then you now see your produce on the farm, which needs to be harvested. You will leave it and sit at home just because the day has been declared a public holiday. So go down to the ground, ask the farmers how many of them will have work to do on their farms and would refuse to go and do that work just because it is a public holiday. So our reasons are tangible, they are verifiable, and they are real.
Now, if I was a farmer and I'm told to come and receive an award on Farmers' Day, that wouldn't be much of a big deal for me if I have to leave my farm for the day.
Because you are receiving an award, you are doing an alternative benefit. You are getting an alternative benefit. So those farmers that are going to receive an award that day, they will leave their farms to go and receive the award.
But you're saying that this is the time where we're having a lot of bushfires and probably the farms will be, burned.
And I'll tell you that if any farmer, even though he or she is being called to come and receive an award, if he's confronted with a choice as to whether he should go and receive that award and get back and see that the farm has been engulfed by fire because he did not go there on that day, a rational thinking person like you and myself and any other person will opt to go to the farm rather than to go and take that award. So the point I'm making is that you don't go for the award because it is a public holiday. And I'm saying that those who are going to receive award, they can leave their farms if they can afford it to go for it. But those who are not going for awards, there is no amount of legislation or institutionalization of the day as a public holiday will stop them from going to their farms.
All right. Now, another issue you've raised in your statement has to do with importation of seeds for government's Planting for Food and Jobs program, arguing GM seeds could be introduced into the country. What is the basis of the claim?
There's a strong basis for it because, one, if you look at the Planting for Food and Jobs program for the 2017, you will call that the government had to import seed to supplement local seed that was available. Now, into the second year, that is 2018, the program is going to be more than doubled. That is 150% increase in the program. The question one will have to ask is, how much investment or support has government given to local seed breeders to be able to produce seed, which will be more than doubled what was needed in 2017, which the local producers could not provide, and government has to import for 2018. So clearly, you can see that much of the seed that will be coming in for the Planting for Food and Jobs in 2018 has to be imported. And you see, there are a number of things that go with importation, because you will be seeking to reduce the cost given the price. And the GMO seed will certainly be lower in terms of cost than more organic seed. So
for you, the tendency is that we're likely to go for the cheaper GM.
We'll go for the cheaper one, and the tendency further is that in the midst of importing so much seed into the country, we may then import GMO seed into the system. And eventually, we would, through this program, introduce GMO into the system. And that will be disastrous for us.
All right.
If we are doing it deliberately, fine. That is there's no problem about it. But if we don't have an intention to import GMO seed, but due to the exigencies, we end up hurting ourselves this way, it will be unfortunate. So we are raising the concern and hoping that government will take steps to ensure that we don't, through this program, hurt us in another way.
All right. Thank you very much, Edward Kariwa. Edward Kariwa is the General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union. In other news, General Secretary of the opposition National Democratic Congress, Johnson Ketia, has likened President Akufo-Addo's comment on homosexuality as a football coach telling his players how to score a goal. According to him, the remarks have the tendency of instigating homosexuals to mount series of agitations for the legalization of the act in the country. The information minister, following the president's interview with Al Jazeera, clarified that government had no plans to legalize homosexuality. But the NDC General Secretary at a news conference in Accra insists the president meant exactly what he said.
Some people are saying that when His Excellency the President said that he didn't mean to support gayism, I have a different interpretation, completely different. Because once he has said it is bound to happen, and he has laid the conditions under which it will happen. So it's like a coach telling you, if you play this way and that way and that way, you score the goal. So ask yourself, if the international gay community now decides to hold a conference in Accra and they need his permission, what would he do? You say the momentum is not there. We want to now gather the momentum. So we want to come and begin the momentum. Would you allow us in or you won't allow us? So that is the problem. Human rights must be based on your traditions and customs. The fact that some people think that they are inclined, their orientation is in a certain way, it doesn't force us as an independent country to amend our laws so that to suit them. Otherwise, why are we not abolishing the criminal laws? Don't you think that there are people who are inclined to steal? There are people who are inclined to steal. They are psychologically, they are called kleptomaniacs. They have the urge to steal. But we have made a law that stealing is no good. Why? Because we know stealing is not good. So the fact that it is not enough for some people to come and tell you that our sexual orientation is towards this thing, so if you don't allow and you don't change your laws to provide for us, then you are breaching human rights. We don't think that is proper. Otherwise, then all types of socially deviant behavior is characteristics of certain people. So then allow it to happen.
Well, the Brown Hartford Presbytery Chairperson of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Reverend Dr. William Kwabena Ofosu-Addo, has chided the media's handling of recent comments by President Akufo-Addo on the legalization of homosexuality. He says rather than blowing the issue out of proportion, the media should have sought for clarification on the president's return, especially when there were several other issues at stake. Reverend Dr. William Kwabena Ofosu-Addo was speaking with JoyNews' Nestor Kafuya-Joma at a church service which brought together the Techiman Traditional Council and the Trinity Congregation of the Presbyterian Church in Techiman.
It was not like that from the beginning of any culture. So I don't believe that any nation will say that it started with homosexuality. It was pressure groups that mounted over the years. So I guess that instead of politicizing the issue, instead of just opening up for so many comments, and sometimes even to the extent of condemning the president, he did not state his position. No, the president was emphatic that this is a cultural issue and this is not Ghanaian. He made that one very clear. But as whether it is bound to happen, what did he mean? So maybe the press would have gone further to interview the president.
Wondering how students who copy during examinations started? Well, the Jirapa District Director of the Ghana Education Service, Rachel Derry, believes students who copy during examinations started during their kindergarten days when they had no furniture to sit on and so had to lie on the bare floor to write right next to each other. She argues, having picked up the habit, they continue up to JHS, where they write the Basic Education Certificate examination. Madam Rachel Derry was speaking at a program at Jirapa in the Upper West Region, organized by a non-governmental organization, ProNet North, to donate 120 dual desks valued at 160,000 Ghana cedis to the Jirapa District Office of the Ghana Education Service. Rafiq Salam has more.
Why do you think the Complementary Basic Education CBE program was started in 2013 and funded by the United Kingdom Department for International Development, DFID, and United States Agency for International Development, USAID, to assist children aged between 8 to 14 years who have either never been to school or might drop out for some reason to acquire education. The aim of the program is to provide access to education to out-of-school children in deprived communities. The children are offered a 9-month course through their mother tongues in basic literacy, numeracy, and life skills. The children, after the 9 months of their study, are integrated into the formal education system. However, they face key challenges as some of the schools are without teaching materials and furniture. One of such schools is the Ghana Memorial Primary School in the Jiraba district. The school is without furniture. Only a dozen of the 146 pupils in the school can boast of a table and chair their parents bought for them. The rest has to depend on the dirty bare floor here. The fortunate ones have the walls of the classroom to lean on with their legs stretched, thereby disturbing their colleagues who sit in front of them. The situation is however different when they are given class exercise to do. They lie prostrate on the cold bare floor with their books in front of them while they do the class exercise. Hardly could the teacher get an inch of space to walk through to supervise the class exercise. Asamanaba Jennifer is the head teacher of the school.
As the pupils are in the floor, they are not able to write well. Most of them play because they are in the floor. The teacher will not be able to supervise them. The teacher cannot see them as they are writing on the floor. But if they are on a furniture where it's raised, the teacher will be able to have a clear vision of everybody and be able to monitor whether the person is writing or not. However, all will surely change as ProNet North, one of the implementing partners of the CBE program, came to their aid. Director of ProNet North, Martin Derry, donated 120 dual decks valued at 16,000 Ghana cedis to the Ghana Education Service for distribution to schools that have pupils that came from the CBE program.
We know that the Ghana Education Service and the Assembly are doing their part in trying to provide school buildings. Today's function is a contribution that we are making as ProNet North in respect of furniture, because we recognize that sometimes the children transit and a place to sit in the new school is a problem because they probably were not anticipated in the first place.
Jiraba District Director of Education, Rachel Derry, thanked ProNet North for the donation.
We are actually in need of furniture. You can just imagine when you go to some of the schools, you see about 10 children sharing 2 tables like this. You are talking about 240. This, let me just assure you that over 500 people will use this furniture because of the need that we have. And that is making teaching not to be effective. How can children be lying on the floor and you, a teacher, you cannot attend to them individually? Are you going to be stepping on them and going round or what? And that is where the copying starts. Children start to copy even in KG1. They copy till they get to Form 3, JSS 3.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam, Jiraba.